Huge game, Liverpool versus Chelsea, but so much happening around it. A huge week. Condolences go out to Nubaid, big Liverpool fan. I mean, it's getting close to a week now since the heartbreaking, shattering news that Klopp has gone. It's definitely what's been a very quiet transfer window, and often there's a lot of breaking news. There's not been a lot of that, and then the Klopp news. It was like, where were you when you found out about it? Where were you, Nubaid?
Just sad, bro. Where was I? I don't remember.
I don't even know where you were, but you know how you were.
I know exactly how I felt. I was just sad. I was just very, very sad.
Yeah.
I was just saying to Sam before we started, didn't cry at my wedding, didn't cry when my child was born. Not saying I'm match or anything. And the moment Klopp went, I just turned to my wife and went, I might cry. And she went, get hold of yourself. I was like, Klopp's gone. I was like, you don't understand.
Well, on that point then, because I mean, we'll talk about this game, which I think there could be a few sort of red herrings here when it comes to Chelsea and how they might play, and obviously Liverpool have to deal with Mohamed Salah. We'll talk about all of that. But when it comes to sort of Jurgen Klopp leaving and the emotional side of it, because it's an emotional club, he's an emotional manager, and it's going to be an emotional last few chapters. He used those words himself in that interview between now and the end of the season for the fans. How do you feel about that whole concoction of letting the world know that you're going to be going at the end of the season? There's an element of danger in that, isn't there?
The psychological side is interesting because it just really depends per person how they receive it. So the Norwich game, a few of my mates went to the game. They said it felt like a funeral. The atmosphere was like a funeral. And so I was like, it is Norwich and we probably expected to win, and it's right after. And in a way, that's the best game to have because we were always going to beat Norwich, no disrespect. Whereas now you come to Chelsea, it's the Premier League, it's an evening game, almost feels like a Champions League night under the lights. So you feel like psychologically, the atmosphere should change, and I think the atmosphere in the dressing room from everything that's come out is that actually like this is a home run. Like we're in every competition. Like let's go and win it for him and for us. And this is the last of their era as well. Yeah. I think a lot has been said about Klopp's going. This is the end for him, but this is the end for this group with this manager. So I think that could be something to spur them on.
It does often have that galvanising effect, doesn't it? This sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing for me is, I'm intrigued to know why now, and I wonder if it's to kind of let it be a story during the FA Cup where there isn't that same presence that there is in the Premier League, and then it can kind of come and go. The other thing I wonder is when Salah's not here, and he's such a talisman, and there might be that need for a little like juice up for this group to kind of go. It either works two ways: either it utterly focuses and fuels the group. Yeah. Or
makes them all so sad they can't play.
Or they're over aroused. It's too far. And when it's too far, then you're not able to sort of play at your optimum, right? So, do you think there's anything in that in terms of the timing of it, just to get them through this period? Because I think that's the thing that people were thrown at them in terms of them doing what they want to do, which is win the Premier League. Is can you deal without Salah?
I hadn't considered that he might be trying to galvanise the troops without Salah by telling everyone that he was leaving. I mean,
I think my main question is why now?
Who knows? I mean, genuinely, only he can decide this, and only he can tell us why, and then only he can decide the timing. And none of us know Jurgen Klopp. We can't really speak for him here. There doesn't have to be a strategy behind the timing, right? It can just...
I think Liverpool being the sort of club they are and the way they've done most things, I think it's a couple of things. One, I think they've probably got the successor lined up who might be getting tapped up somewhere else.
Or they're desperate to get it sorted.
Yeah, so they've gone, listen, Jurgen, we know you're going at the end of the season. Let's time the story, right? So maybe the FA Cup and around that time, before Arsenal, we go lose and everyone says, they're crapping themselves. I think you go, let's do it now and get it a little bit out of the way, and by the way, whoever we're getting next, we're kicking them out the door, just an FYI, and so you won't have any trouble when you get here. That's my feeling. Because Liverpool have been so tactical with transfer windows and everything, and nothing ever gets leaked. There probably was a threat of maybe something getting leaked potentially. Yeah. I think there's a few factors.
Controlling the narrative, yeah, is one part of it, especially when it's a quiet sort of news cycle, and then it goes into, as you say, a huge week. Chelsea and then Arsenal this week, absolutely massive for Liverpool. The game obviously at Anfield against Chelsea, and it's not been a belter over the last few years. I'm sure we've spoken about this numerous times since we've been doing the show on ESPN, but it's normally a draw. Isn't it? And do you feel like this could be different? How you feel about Chelsea? Obviously played Aston Villa your side at the weekend. Yeah. Again, it was one of those ones where they couldn't get a goal.
Yeah,
It was
they
about
huffed
the
and puffed, didn't
finishing.
they?
Yeah.
And it didn't quite happen for them. And they nearly lost the game in the first 10 minutes. They nearly lost the game in the last 20 minutes. But in between that, the 60 minutes wedged between those two time zones, they were actually very, very good, apart from the same old story, which is the finishing touch.
Yeah.
Now, they played Cole Palmer up front in this game, and he missed a couple of really, really good opportunities. One was a 1v1 that he actually created himself by intercepting a pass and then going through 1v1. Madueke missed a few. It was difficult for them. It's been a very familiar story, hasn't it? And I was wondering if they got over this because they just put 6 past Middlesbrough. So I thought, okay, maybe that's the floodgates. Maybe that's the moment. It was not the moment. It was once again the same old story. But I was impressed with Chelsea's energy levels. I was impressed with their pressing, particularly Cole Palmer's a very clever presser. You've got Palmer and Sterling now in this team that have played under Pep Guardiola and played for City and learnt how to press like demons. And now here they are leading this one. It's a very energetic team. Block off the middle of the park really, really well. The two in midfield, Enzo Fernandez and Moises Caicedo, are really good at blocking out the central zones. Then the front four push and press. Villa really struggled with the intensity of this team until the final 20 minutes when Chelsea just went and just flagged, visibly flagged. So I'd imagine that Chelsea, a lot of their good results this season have obviously come against those bigger teams where they have been able to play off the ball and block out the middle of the pitch and say, nah, you're not going to break us down and we're going to attack you. You can't do that against Sheffield United because you've got all the ball.
Yeah.
So I feel like Chelsea are a bit of a big game killer here, or a big team killer.
Yeah.
They're kind of set up that way, which suits Pochettino. But obviously there's doing that, and then there's going to Anfield and winning, which is a whole different question.
And they've had good results against, the top sides, let's say. And I think it comes down to what you're saying there, which is someone like, Nicholas Jackson now. Nkunku, will he be back? We're wondering. Brozier, something doesn't feel right there right now. And when you talk about the pressing, maybe it's one where to have a bit more sort of solidity through the middle, but have those presses in terms of Palmer, Sterling, Conor Gallagher as well, who can get forward that little bit more, especially when you're not playing a striker. But going to Anfield, is it a good time to go to Anfield or not? Because in terms of form, if we take away the circus, it's not a great time to play Liverpool. But
yeah, I think the one thing tactically that I think maps out actually in Liverpool's favour is often when teams press Liverpool, especially at Anfield, Liverpool just go direct, and that's the ability of Van Dijk's. Like his passing into wide areas is unbelievable. But then also, if you look over the last 5 or 6 games, Liverpool have sort of been dropping Curtis Jones in front of Van Dijk occasionally, and he goes direct. And it's almost like a second way to get yourself to break lines, basically. So I think maybe in a way you go, there's no Salah, and he's very important to Liverpool. But then Robertson's just come back, and so like the weakness that Liverpool had is actually been filled elsewhere. So
yeah, but Trent can then just float that ball over to Diaz.
Yeah,
that switch from Trent to Diaz, right to left, is so effective as well. It's another way that you can just skip over the whole midfield, right?
I think what's great as well is when you've got players that've got, Jota, we need you to come in and score a few goals, and he's like, fine.
Yeah.
Nunes, do you mind, getting a few goals? Yep, don't worry about it. They're in a really, really good place right now. Right, no fence sitting here. No draws allowed.
Even though it's always a draw.
No draws allowed. Okay, in the comments as well. Who's going to win this one? What do you think, sir?
2-1 Liverpool.
2-1 Liverpool.
I'll go 1-0 Liverpool.
Go on.
The QPR fan is going to go for Liverpool, not Chelsea in this one. Yeah, I think they will have a little bit too much, although I think it will be very, very tight. It always is. I might even go with a...
You're not allowed to go for a draw.
I was waiting for him to say 1-1.
I'm going to go 2-1. 2-1 Liverpool for me.